Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is the Achilles. It's a tier 6 British tank destroyer, a turreted one. It's located on the east spawn of Sand River, and this one is under the command of Gary Halliwell. Now, the Achilles was a conversion of the M10 tank destroyer, or self-propelled gun, whichever way you're looking at it. They started receiving them in 1944, and well, they did get some M10s from the Americans back in 1943, but they didn't convert the first ones they got. They kept those as M10s with the standard M3 3-inch gun. I think it's the M3, which is a 76.2mm gun, but it hasn't got the same muzzle velocity as the 17-pounder, which was converted and fitted into the M10s, which became Achilles. And it's actually the muzzle velocity that you're after in this vehicle, because it had very high muzzle velocity, 884 meters per second, and with the ballistic capped shells, it could actually penetrate through the armor of a Tiger tank. So it made life very, very tough for the Germans, because whenever they came up against an Achilles, they realized they were in trouble. And in fact, actually, they learned to recognize, the Germans learned to recognize that the Achilles M10s, or rather the tanks that look like M10s but are actually armed with the 17-pounder, also had a counterweight at the end of the barrel. And you can actually see that model in the game. Oh, he just tracked that leopard. Can you get another round in? No. Standard reload time in the game is 4.22 seconds, and you can see he's dishing the shells out at 3.95, Gary Halliwell. The alpha is 150, because it's only 76.2mm, so similar sort of capability as the standard 76mm gun. But, well, at the better end of it, because of course it's got better penetration. 171mm with standard rounds, and with the APCR it'll go to 239mm, and that's where the Tiger tanks really suffered. It moves and behaves very much like an M10 though, because that's what it's based on. It's the standard M10 hull. It was actually the second batch of M10s that the British received from the Americans, the upgraded ones that actually got the 17-pounder guns, because of course those M10s were made to be upgraded to have the standard 3-inch gun removed, and for them to get the 76mm gun the Americans were producing instead. So whilst the Americans actually ended up with 76mm armed M10s, we ended up with the Achilles with the 76.2mm 17-pounder. And I think the 17-pounder was a much better gun, because of course it was taking out Tigers. Now, the engine on the Achilles is the same one as on the M10s. It's a General Motors twin diesel. Nice shot. Takes it up to a maximum speed of 51 kilometers per hour in the war, but Wargaming have pegged it at 48mm. Ow! No, he took that position to avoid any return shot from the north, but in actual fact he got hit in the side by an AMX ELC, who's probably hiding in the bushes just north of the riverbank. Okay, so he had to move this side. Took a pretty big hit. That must be a 90mm armed AMX CLC. Okay, just spotted a VK3001H. Was it 3001P? Okay, it's the Porsche one. Now, he could have taken that guy out if he got around in. Difficult shot. Oh my god, he got him! Only a narrow gap to fire through. Well, narrow gap to fire. All you could see was part of his vehicle, but he still managed to get the round into him. Just goes to show the power of the accuracy of the 17-pounder gun, because that is one of the good points of this vehicle. It's got good DPM, good penetration, good shell velocity, but superb accuracy, and that's what the enemies really hated. It's also got fairly decent mobility in terms of speed. and a good view range as well, 370 meters. The bad points are that it has a very slow turret traverse, which makes it difficult because sometimes if you want to engage an enemy fairly quickly, yeah, it takes a little while for it to dial the turret round. But it does on some of the German tank destroyers as well. Oh, VK. Yep, we'll have him. Okay, he didn't like that, so he's pulled back. And oh, look at this cheeky little German, this VK-3002M Panther prototypes managed to make his way close. So we have to abandon this position because otherwise we're just too close to him. He'll proximity spot us and we'll get hit by everyone. The other bad thing about it is it doesn't have much in the way of gun depression. We can see the ELC over there. He's just checking him out right now. The turret's turning, but it's just taking forever. Yeah, gun depression is diabolically bad. It's only 5 degrees, so just as bad as any Soviet tank for that matter. I suppose you could say that it's actually not down to the fact that the gun has to pivot up in the mouth of the in the roof of the tank, because it doesn't have a roof. No, it's actually the fact that the vehicle and where it's positioned. I think I can show you that if I get close. Yeah, you can see that the turret's fairly low on the hull, and so it can't actually pivot down enough to actually get more than just 5 degrees gun depression. It's got very thin armour as well. All M10s have very thin armour. It's basically only 12.75 millimeters, but in the wiki it's down to 38 millimeters at the front of the hull, 19.1 at the sides and rear. So Wargaming have actually added something, and that's actually true to a certain extent, because in the war they could actually put applique armour on the original M10 armour simply by fitting extra sheets, which made it kind of spaced armour actually in a sense. They put these kind of rivets, these retainers on all of the M10s because they acknowledged that, you know, the armour was fairly thin and was only designed to stop small arms, not to stop anything that was heavy. And so they thought that it would actually be better to fit extra armour on. I think the Arty knows he's here. Yeah, I'm pretty certain the Arty knows we're here, so you really need to pull back from here, because that Arty round was very close, and I think he was trying to get you. I don't think he has artillery warning, so you can only recognise that there is some Arty firing at you when you get that noise, that rumble in the distance, and suddenly a round whistles in. But that gun depression's working against him here, because although he's trying to go up onto that bank to shoot over the edge, you can't do that with the Achilles. And oh, knocking those trees down might actually let the Arty know that where he is, because they all splay out from a specific point. And he might say, well, obviously he's right at the centre of that bush, isn't he? So you can't see over this ridgeline without getting a bit closer. And when he gets closer, you'll get seen. Well, he's in a bad position now because there's only 3 left on his team and they're outnumbered 2-1, and here comes the T-150. Oh, he's only showing the top of his cupola to us at the moment, but that's enough. Very accurate gun, I did say that. Very accurate gun, and he's got the T-150 out. Okay, so we can shoot through the gap at that VK. Hello, goodbye. Oh! The Arty fired a round in there, didn't get a hit, surprisingly, but I can hear another rumble. Yep, the Arty's definitely trying to get him, and it is a PP, so one shot every 7.5 seconds, so he needs to vacate this area and find a new firing position. But he's found one because he can get that KV-1 from here, and the KV-1 probably does know he's in the vicinity. Yep. But I don't think it's going to work out too well for him. I'd kill the Jagdpanzer before anything else, though. He might have the 88mm gun. Okay, go for him. Okay, he's pulling back because he's a bit worried about that gun. And he should be, because Jagdpanzer 4 are quite good. Oh, he might have hit the gearbox, because he hit the lower part and penned it. And the gearbox is down there, so maybe he's hit the transmission. He's looking at us. He's looking at us. Oh, beautiful. He's got him. So that's 5 kills now for Gary Halliwell, and there's 2 enemies left, but he's equal the score. So he's effectively turned this battle around, and he's carrying his team towards the finishing post. If he can get that VK, take him out of the game, that's going to be a major benefit. There's only one left after him. I got him! And that means now there's only the Arty left, which means effectively Gary Halliwell's won this game for his team, so long as he can get the enemy Arty. He's won a Top Gun already. He's going to try and get the 7 kills if he can, and he should be able to. He's chosen to go the north bank of the riverbed. That's a good choice in my view, because it'll give him more altitude or more height to actually spot the enemy Arty before the Arty spots him. Well, they have got about the same view range, just 20 meters difference. But the best thing is that Gary Halliwell has got plenty of rounds of ammo left. In fact, he doesn't really need to have the APCR. He could just use the standard AP right now and he'll take the enemy out. But great shooting by him. Great shooting. You see the M4A1 FL10 decided to go south bank of the river, and Gary Halliwell's right. He was right. He predicted it. He called it. The enemy Arty's just over the next dune, and he knows we've seen him, and he's firing at us, but I'm afraid it's not going to be very much good for him, because any second Gary's going to get a solution on him and be able to whack him back. Okay. The Arty's trying to have a go. Almost. Not quite, but he is starting to lose hit points because the M4A1, oh, the M4A1 takes the kill. And they did, oh, he tried to platoon at the last moment, but it doesn't look as if it went through. And what a good game that was. Well, another excellent battle, and this time from Gary Halliwell. He got an ace tanker in the Achilles on Sand River. He managed to get a sharpshooter for getting 10 or more consecutive shots on the enemy, a master gunner for getting 5 armor penetrating shots in a row. Really does help to have that 17-pounder. He got a fire for effect for doing more damage to the hit points of his own vehicle, and he got a bruiser medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In fact, he got 5 exactly. He got the high caliber for dealing the most damage in that game overall, and he got a Top Gun for getting at least 6 kills when he killed the VK3002M at the end. Brilliant. 6,918 was the win 8. High super unicum. Very, very good. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, he carried his team on that game. He didn't get more than the all of his teammates put together. No, well, he only got 6 kills. He needed 8 to get the more kills than the rest of his team put together. But he did do a massive amount of damage towards the end of the game when they were all outnumbered 2-1. But he turned the battle around and they won it. Look at this. 2,207 hit points of damage. The next high scorer was the M4A1 FL10 on the enemy, on his own team rather, not on the enemy. 1,857 went to him, and the third highest damage in the game actually went to the Pavlak tank on his own team, or Porlak tank I should say. He got 1,608. When it came to kills, it was Gary Halliwell again with 6 kills in the game. 4 kills went to the VK3002M. I thought that guy was good. He managed to sneak up on Gary, almost got beneath him before Gary knew where he was. And yeah, Gary did the right thing to run away from that cliff edge quick, because otherwise he would have been the target of every enemy gunner rather that could see him. 3 kills went to the M4A1 FL10, the M20 on his own team, and also the enemy Fifi managed to get 3 as well. When it came to base XP, Gary's got that one. Yes, so he's got the top in all 3. 1,147 went to Gary Halliwell. 847 went to the FL10. And 710 went to the Skoda T25 on his team. He fired 23 rounds in that game, got 18 direct hits on the enemy and 17 penetrations. So you can see it's got a very high penetration value. That penetration, that 17-pounder, if it hits the target, most of the times it will go straight through. So I suspect that one of the shots he actually got a direct hit on actually hit the tracks rather than actually hitting something that he couldn't penetrate. damage of 2,207 hit points, of which 1,381 were at more than 300 meters. He did receive one hit. It did penetrate, I'm afraid. That was the AMX ELC. Fired a 90mm round into the side, and you can see that from the amount of damage he did. Over 200 hit points with one shot. It had to be the 90mm. But he found out where that guy was, and when he was retreating, he obviously thought about taking him out from where he was. 3 hits received by way of splash damage as well. The enemy Arty was definitely having a go at trying to get him, but just wasn't succeeding. 1 enemy vehicle spotted, 8 enemy vehicles damaged, 6 killed, and 354 hit points of spotting assist. At least I think that was spotting. It may have been damage assist as well. He earned 40,541 credits from the game, but he did use rather a lot of ammunition. Plus, of course, he also had consumables. So he made a small loss for the game of 27,576 credits. But I don't think he'd be worried because he got a nice little ace tanker, and of course he carried his team to victory. 1,720 XP times 2 for the first victory, 3,442 for completing a mission, and 6,883 experience points altogether. Great game there from Gary. I think it's the sort of game that everyone would like to have, especially if you've got the Achilles, because that 17-pounder is so much fun. So yeah, I thoroughly recommend getting an Achilles if you do get one. It's a slow grind getting up the to the 17-pounder with everything at top rated, but once you do get it, you really do enjoy taking out the enemy vehicles one by one with that 17-pounder. It makes a big difference. In fact, it made a big difference during the war, because by D-Day they had 124 of the Achilles converted and ready to go with the 17-pounder gun. But by the end of the year, they racked up another, I think it was another 800 of them. They mass manufactured them as quickly as they could. They converted the M10s that they received from the Americans and put them into action. And they really were needed because, of course, the British and the Americans, they were up against some severe opposition in the form of Tiger IIs in Normandy area, as well as a lot of other Panther tanks and the like. And of course, the Achilles was able to kill them quite easily. So there you have it, the Achilles. Well done, Gary. I hope you enjoyed that replay. If you did, please give this video a like. Do subscribe to our channel. Leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm. And thank you for watching.